Welcome back to the program. Into ASEAN interview now. We take a look at 1 year since two Reuters journalists have been arrested in Myanmar after uncovering the latest developments in Rakhine State, where men were massacred and boys as well. So we take a look at what's being done around the world as journalists commemorate that date.
ใช่แล้วค่ะเมื่อวันที่12ธันวาคมที่ผ่านมาก็ครบรอบ1ปีพอดีนะคะกับคดีนักข่าวรอยเตอร์จากเมียนมาที่ถูกจำคุก7ปีด้วยกันนะคะก็ต้องมาดูกันว่าในครั้งนี้ในการรำลึกถึง1ปีที่ผ่านมานักข่าวทั่วโลกเขาทำอะไรกันบ้างค่ะ
More than 100 Myanmar activists marked the anniversary on Wednesday, December 12th, of the arrest of two Reuters journalists sentenced to 7 years in jail in a landmark free speech case by releasing balloons at a rally in the country's largest city, Yangon. Walon, 32, and Cha So-u, 28, were found guilty in September of violating the country's Official Secrets Act, in a case that has raised questions about Myanmar's progress towards democracy and sparked an outcry from human rights advocates. Students, journalists, and writers sporting T-shirts that read "Journalism is not a crime" and "Free Walon and Cha So-u" lit candles and held a minute's silence for the two reporters. Some held copies of the latest cover of Time magazine featuring the journalists and their families after they were named among a group of reporters as the publication's Person of the Year. The journalists have appealed against their conviction, citing evidence of a police setup and lack of proof of a crime. An appeal hearing is scheduled for December 24th. Government spokesman Cha Tae said at a news conference last month that the government could not interfere in the case as Myanmar's courts were independent. He could not be reached for comment on Wednesday. Several media organizations and journalist clubs, including the Foreign Correspondents Club of Hong Kong and the BBC World Service, as well as many Reuters journalists, have posted photographs on social media featuring Walon's signature thumbs-up gesture, which he displayed to supporters throughout the trial. Before their arrest, the reporters had been working on a Reuters investigation into the killing of 10 Rohingya Muslim men and boys by security forces and local Buddhists in western Myanmar's Rakhine State during an army crackdown that began in August last year. The operation sent more than 730,000 people fleeing to Bangladesh. Reuters and BBC journalists in London on Wednesday marked the 1-year anniversary of the arrest of two Reuters journalists sentenced to 7 years in jail in Myanmar in a landmark free speech case. The journalists stood outside their offices in London, sporting T-shirts as well that read "Journalism is not a crime," and holding posters that read #Free Walon and Cha So-u.
A year ago,
Reuters editor-in-chief Stephen J. Adler called upon Myanmar to release two Reuters journalists on the anniversary of their arrests. Adler said the incarceration of the two called into question Myanmar's commitment to democracy.
A year ago, Reuters reporters Walon and Cha So-u were arrested in a setup by police intended to interfere with the reporting on a massacre in Myanmar. The fact that they remain in prison for a crime they did not commit calls into question Myanmar's commitment to democracy, freedom of expression, and rule of law. Every day they continue to be behind bars is a missed opportunity for Myanmar to stand up for justice. The people of Myanmar deserve the freedoms and democracy they have long been promised, and Walon and Cha So-u deserve to be returned to their families and colleagues immediately.
After their husbands were arrested by Myanmar police, the wives of Reuters journalists Walon and Cha So-u are finding it hard to accept their fates in prison. Both journalists have young daughters. Cha So-u's Motin Waijan, age 3, has started asking about her father's absence. Cha So-u's wife, Chit Su-win, said in her own words, "Our daughter starts to ask like, why does daddy not love us? Why is he not living with us?" So she answered, "No, Motin, he loves you so much. That's why he's working at the prison." Walon was incarcerated when his daughter was born. Both men are allowed to see their families a few times a week through a barrier, but their imprisonment is still taking its toll. Wallon's wife, Panemon, said the challenges of wives without their husbands by their side is indescribable. At the time of their arrests, they had been working on an investigation into the killing of 10 Rohingya Muslim men and boys in a village in Rakhine State during a crackdown by the army that started last August. The operation sent more than 700,000 people fleeing to Bangladesh. Myanmar has denied most of the allegations, saying the military responded to a legitimate threat from Rohingya militants who attacked police posts across western Rakhine State. And that was ASEAN Interview for this week. Thanks for tuning in. That wraps up ASEAN Challenge. We'll see you again very soon next week. For now, สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ